If you're trying to get Onyx in Pokemon Pokopeia, you've probably already noticed he's stuck inside a cave behind some unbreakable rocks. To free him, you'll first need to soften those rocks by making it rain. And to make it rain, you'll need a Slowpoke. To find Slowpoke, put 4 patches of tall grass near the ocean behind the starting area to create the seaside tall grass habitat. When Slowpoke appears, ask him to come and see the professor about making it rain. After expressing his concern about the bumpy ground, you will learn the recipe for wooden steps. This will allow you to make the path to Professor Tangrove more manageable for Slowpoke. Put down steps and wooden path pieces so he can very slowly make his way to the professor. When he finally arrives, Professor Tangrove explains that a Slowpoke's yawn can make it rain. However, the area needs to be humid enough for the yawn to be effective. To increase the humidity enough to trigger a 100-point yawn, you'll need to complete a few requests. Talk to Slowpoke about making water flow through the fountain. Create a large field of flowers with Bulbasaur. And help Squirtle perform a rain dance. Also make sure you break all the remaining dripping rocks to increase the water flow in the area. At this point, the humidity will probably be high enough for a 100-point yawn. If not, use your water gun to hydrate some dry ground, grass, flowers and trees. After finally making it rain and quickly realizing it wasn't much of a downpour, you'll hear a loud call coming from the ocean. Head over there and talk to Kyogre after repairing the dock with some bridge planks. He will make it rain for real this time. So now it's finally time to free Onyx. Return to the cave where Onyx is trapped and break the softened rocks with Rock Smash. And that's how you free Onyx in Pokemon Pokopeia. If this guide helped you out, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more Pokemon Pokopeia.
I release my ears. I'm going to talk you through how to free Onyx from the cave. He gets stuck in there and there's this really long process to be able to get him out. Obviously, firstly, you've got to get in there to be able to talk to him. So use Rock Smash. He's in the caves. You just follow the cave system through. You'll eventually find him. He's relatively easy to get to. Head up to him and talk to him and he'll send you back to talk to the professor. But when you talk to the professor, he's got another thing that he wants to do, which is to get through a wall and see what's on the other side. So start by doing that. And once you get over to the other side, he's excited to see the sea. You'll also have a little bit of a section with the lighthouse, which is just in front of you as you come through that wall.
But yeah, so I've just been like, just kind of struggling to just get through. Oh man, I just don't want the energy in me to deal with people. Like in general, like a lot of like the dudes that I see, they're just like I dealt with this one dude the other day. He was well, I've dealt with more than one act stupid, but like we'll go over both. So there was this one guy. He asked me on a date to BJ's, and let me just be real. Like I don't like BJ's. Okay, it's just not my cup of tea. It's literally like going to like an Applebee's, except at least with the Applebee's, you could get semi decent food. It's not even decent, it's semi decent to Applebee's. Anytime I've gone to BJ's, it's like stuff that's, frozen food, overcharged, and just like crap place. Cheap food, cheap quality, cheap price, but it would be like buying something from the dollar store that's frozen and then charging $20 for it. That is what it's like to go to the place that he asked me to go. And obviously you're gonna say, well, like, it's the thought that matters, right? Sure, thought that matters, okay? And so that's why I was like considering it. But then he says, well, what about if we just went on a walk to the beach? Can we do that? And I said, what? No. And he goes, okay, no problem. And then he says, well, he says, you're not one of those kinds of girls that likes expensive dinners, right? To make you try to feel bad that you would want to go on a fancy date. Meanwhile, my mom, who's very much into a fancy date, would rather go on fancy dates her whole life than sit around and do nothing. Okay, so and she's 82. So I don't understand what that means. Oh, you're not the type of girl that is who likes wants to go on fancy dates, are you? That's a trick question, because any girl is gonna say, yeah, I want to go on a fancy date. No one is gonna settle on a Burger King date for you. Okay, that's just realism. And so I was like, you know what, I'm out of here, bye. And he was just like, no, please talk to me. And he's been trying to get my attention for days now, and I just don't want to give it to him, because the only thing this guy can offer me is words and bullshit. If I have to be feeling bad about agreeing to go to the place that you want to go, like I don't even like BJ's, okay, then we got a problem. All right. So there's that. And then I'm, when he finally got me to talk, I was pouring my heart out about what I was going through, my life situation, because he just really just wanted to know like what was wrong and why I would talk. And I was like, fine. So I told him, he's got pretty eyes, I'll give him that. But then at the end, after he did so, he was like, his response was, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through that. I wish I could do more. All I could do is talk. And when you're going through pain and suffering, people don't want to talk. They don't want to talk. They just want to get ice cream and cry at a bowl of ice cream. They don't want to deal with you. They don't want to deal with how you're horny. They don't care who you are and how you smut. Okay, they don't care if you're pretty. They want needs met. Just like you, okay? If you were to be sick, right? And you have the flu, me saying, oh, I'm sorry you are sick isn't going to cut it for you. You're going to say, well, I better go find myself some chicken noodle soup. Right? And so that was where I was at with that guy. And he said that, but then it's like a give me attention ordeal. And let me just make this clear. I don't do OnlyFans, but like, have you ever seen what these OnlyFans girls do? Do you know what goes on? These girls will pay people in like China, a man typically, to they'll give the nudes to some guy in China and they'll say, can you pretend to be me and entertain these men? And so the guy will pay this girl a certain amount of money and to dirty talk him and help him get off. And it won't be the girl that he's talking to. It'll be a man in China pretending to be the girl because the girl doesn't want to get an emotional attachment to you. She just wants your money because she knows that you're full of bullshit. You'll probably take her nudes and run. So, you're asking basically for my free time and energy when I know you're never going to get married. Probably you're never going to amount to anything. Dude's literally 23 and doesn't even have a real job. He's like, oh, I throw away trash for a living is what he had said. And I'm just like, okay. And he gets paid like $100 a day. So that means your whole paycheck is basically gone. Okay. Once you go on one date. Because a date's like easily $100. You know what I'm saying? And so as I was saying, this dude was trying to get my time and energy while I'm telling him like all of my pain and suffering. And then all he could offer was basically, I'll just listen. And listening, that's like saying, oh, I can only offer my penis. Okay. That is basically what you were saying. And that's not better than before. Because nothing gets fixed. Back in the day, in the 90s, when you were sad, a guy would say, I'm sorry, doll, that you're sad. Let me go get you some Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? He would try to make your life easier. Nowadays, they just yap. And venting is good and all, but like I'd rather go to a therapist and vent because, at least they're not going to try to have sex with me. So, and let's see, what is the hint here? Nice. But anyway, I like the fact that back then that you could actually go out and make memories. A lot of these guys, they just hit it and they don't feel anything for the girl because they haven't had to work hard for her, whatever. And frankly, I don't want to deal with them because even if I say never, like say that we don't go on a date, okay? Say that we hook up, okay? Even if I did everything he asked and never asked for a date ever, okay? There's nothing to stop that person from leaving. So literally you can just invest all your time and energy into this person. And then at a moment's notice, even if you never fought with him, he could just say, bye or disappear. And that's what I frequently see with a lot of like 20-year-olds is that they don't, because they got all these Instagram girls they be looking at, okay, they don't ever pay attention to what's in front of them. They're just like, oh, well, I saw another pretty girl, time for the next one. And then they come back a month, a day, a week later, and then you're already just checked out because you're like, oh, okay, I guess that guy that wasn't interested because he disappeared. You know, and that's valid. And so for me, I'm like, why, why bother with these kinds of guys? And then they're upset when I don't want to give them the time of day. Why would I bother if you're not there? And even some millennial guys are pretty bad. Then there was this one dude that asked me out on a date, and he is a millennial. He was in my freshman year of school, and I used to have like the biggest crush on this guy, and he knew that. I told him that. I said, cause he connected to me. He's like, oh my gosh, I missed talking to you from school, and I thought we should talk. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I didn't see him as anything like unique because, well, I mean, I it was clear I liked him, and then he didn't make a move. So I was like, all right, he didn't make a move, must mean he's not interested. But then again, when I was in high school, I didn't have like the body I have now. Right now, I have big boobs, and I've been more accomplished in life and things like this. And so he reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to hang out and play Pokemon Go? We could grab a bite to eat after. And I was like, sure. And then I said, where? And then he invited me to a fancy place. It was one of those fancy like rich people places where you get like $35 steaks. And I said, well, wait a minute, is this a date or is this a hangout? And he says, well, it's a date, it's a reunion date. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like you guys in this day and age, you don't even have a clear signal as to what you want. And so I'm like, so I'm expected to leave my house, leave my video games, to deal with you and your wishy-washy signal. And in the past, when I've dealt with this before, the guy will try to get something out of you, whether it's a kiss, sex, whatever, and then say, oh, well, I thought it was just a kiss, or I thought it was just sex, or I thought, and it's not just me that they do this to all women. And I know this because we talk about it all the time at the Women's Center. So this guy knew that I had a crush on him, and that's the thing, like, you're not dumb. You know what's going on. You're not stupid. And yet you're still like pretending you don't understand, and you're pretending it's just this or just that. Like, you can't even give a clear signal. Okay? And I'm expected to want to talk to you. And I just stopped. It didn't matter that I had a crush on him for more than a year, because I was like, oh boy, here we go again. It's another dude that can't give clear signals. And I just stopped talking, and he's just like, what happened? Why won't you talk? Are you okay? What's wrong? And I'm like, okay. And even when I've tried to tell people what's wrong, they just tell you, oh, I don't want to hear it. That's overwhelming. Get over it. I've been through worse. they mitigate everything you go through, and then you're just expected to just be like, okay, I understand. When the reality is, I don't understand, and I don't care either. So, you know, like if I'm struggling to just get through A to B, I'm not going to be able to find the words to tell you the things you want to hear. And when that guy said all that, all I felt was disinterest. I was like, okay, like maybe I could be your friend, but like, and the crazy part is the guy is 36 and he's acting like he's 20. You should be able to give a clear signal, and you should be able to be settling down. It feels like a lot of guys, even in their 30s, are trying to be players in their 30s. And the reality is, if I'm already dealing with a lot of stress, I don't have the energy to deal with your player vibe. Okay? Like, there is Tinder, there is all kinds of things that you could do. And one of my exes, he is 34, 35. I don't even know, and I don't care. Okay. He is in his 30s. And it was the same bullshit with him. Pretending to be a good guy, pretending that he's serious, using his friends and everything. And then when the time comes for you to like settle down, does not want to settle down at that age, and then wants to know where you've gone and everything else. And I think the hard part for me is the emotional attachments. Like, I don't want an emotional attachment to people that aren't going to be around. And I just keep professionalism with people because they like to do this thing where you get caught up in emotions, and then when you do, people say stuff like, oh, well, why aren't you together? Why did you break up? And they assign faults. And I don't want any of that. I just want to play my game and have fun. That's cool. I think if the guys also were like serious, that would be easier to give them the time of day. But it's all a demand for attention and then rush to be with the next girl. It's never like, never anything sincere. And the dude, the one that I know from high school, he's got a grown son that's almost 18 years old. So, and he's not doing a stable job. He works like in a kitchen. So even if I wanted children with him, we would not be able to produce because neither of us make enough money to have a second child. But the guy doesn't do any math. He can't process that. He can't map that out. He just chooses to stay in a crap job. So even if you want to be with this person because you used to have a crush on them, you wouldn't be able to because you wouldn't be able to have kids with them and they never advance or grow. And that's angering because if you are a grown woman, okay, and you are in your, if mid to late 30s, at some point you're going to need to have kids. And that means this guy chose to not have a career. It's not that he couldn't, it's that he chose. Okay? Because his parents are rich. So that means he had the ability, he had a car, he had the ability, just didn't want it. So you can't be with him because then your kids will not be provided for. And this is like the slew of dudes that I run into. It's never like doctors or lawyers. I mean, I do meet doctors, but when I do, they're like alcoholics or making weird demands, and it's just like, oh, like when I see all this, I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm just very tired. I want to I don't want to talk to them. I'm like, don't talk to me unless you got money. That is my motto now. Don't talk unless you're giving me money. I ended asking for money, but I just stopped responding to him because he doesn't even ask like a heartfelt question as to why I'm upset. He just, says what's wrong. I tell him what's wrong, and I say I'm going through a hard time with my mom, and he doesn't dig deeper to say, oh, what happened? It's just, what is this? Yeah, he does not dig deeper. Oh, this is heavy armor. We're creative. Yeah, he doesn't dig deeper to figure out what's wrong. He just sits there and says, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," and then wants to flirt with you, but then doesn't even give you the signal that he likes you. You're supposed to assume everything, and after a while, that's just really hard to deal with. And then after a while, I'm like, I don't want to assume anything, so I'm just not going to flirt at all. And then he wonders why I won't talk to him. And it just feels like a game. Because, like, say if you flirt with him back, then he'll be like, oh, well, you were flirting with me. You see where that goes? Other part that makes me mad is the energy she expels out of me. She will go ramble about how I need to do X, Y, and Z for her because she's my quote unquote mother. But then, when it comes time to, like, being a mother and loving me and taking care of me and providing for me, she don't do any of that. And when I say, Mom, this is hurtful, and you're not taking care of me, and I'm gonna be there for you in the long run, and things like that, she'll say, "Oh, I don't need you. I've got Wendy." But then when it comes time for me to her needing something, I'll say, "So what happened to Wendy? I thought you don't need me. You've got Wendy." You know what I mean? Like, she'll revert it to, "Well, I'm talking to you now." And I'm just like, "So I don't understand why I need to do anything for you." And then they say, "Well, you do nothing." And I'm like, "So I didn't go and paint your house or pull your weeds or make flower beds for you or offer you free food? Or, I mean, that wasn't me. Who was that?" And she'll bring up one thing that Will has done for her in like 10 billion years ago. And I'm just like, "So you remember this one little thing, but you won't remember any of the millions of things that I've done for you." And that hurts, like, significantly. And then she wonders why I don't want to listen to anything she has to say. Like, you have to understand, you can't just walk up to people and dictate their lives and whatever. Welcome to the stream. And I think the other issue that I'm facing with these people is the constant guilt trips. Like, for example, you know damn well that that is not your property anymore when you get married to another man. Okay? You know that belongs to someone else, and instead you weaponize the situation and say that I'm greedy. So that I have to apologize to her. It's always to put you on the defense. It's what my ex Owen did too. Just use something to make an excuse to put you at fault so that you're apologizing so you can get your way. And in the end, it isn't going to work because, you know, you're going to eventually need somebody there for you. Okay, you can't expect to rely on random people all the time. And she'd rather lose her daughter than actually like come down to earth and understand that she's wrong. And it's her way or the highway, and that's just not a friendship that you can have with people. And I spent a lot of time trying to help her and give her food and give her money and like anything I could do to try to like make her happy. And she says no when I try to. So it's like I don't know how you can say that I'm a bad person for asking. It doesn't even feel like that she loves him for him. It feels like she loves him so she could go on dates. And the thing is, what are you gonna do when he stops taking you on those dates? I mean, you gonna replace him with somebody else? Like, I don't know. And I think a lot of the problem I have with her is the fact that she does not live in reality. And like, I just want to hang out with her and chill. Like, And it's a little hard to do that when she's nasty all the time. And then I get told by other people, instead of like, saying that, my mother needs to just chill out, I get told that I need to find different ways to speak to her. Like, I took linguistics. Okay, I studied linguistics, the study of speech. And I'm telling you, there's literally no way to speak to this woman. Like, she literally will find a reason to be mad over nothing. And her brother was no better either. I said the words to him. I said, Uncle Gene, you're confused. These are not this, you're just, all I said was, you're confused. And he's like, don't you see that? Screaming at me, when the reality is nobody's regulating these morons. Okay, and they are morons because, like, I mean, you're only making yourself look bad to others when you can't get it together with the kids. Okay, your kids are trying to be there for you. You're being mean. Like, it isn't a good look. And then when I do want to hang out with her, she's rambling about, oh, well, you need to fix something in the past. And I'm like, all I could see is a woman that was bad to her children. You know what I mean? You're telling me I need to fix something. I don't know what it is I need to be fixing, but there's really no excuse to abandon your children. You know what I mean? Like, you're a mother. What are you doing? And she would say my children were horrible to me. Literally talking to you in a really soft voice, being kind while you're calling me a whore and a slut. And I'm not acting as a whore and a slut. You would think I would be with all the time she called me that. And then you want me to not be pissed off. Like, of course I'm going to be pissed off. That is, that is my right to be after how you acted. Goodness, that's a lot. My mom also gets mad too when I don't believe her. Supposed to just believe every little word she says. Just like, I don't know anybody who's done that ever. I don't know how these people move around her either. She sends all these people to harass me too. That's draining in itself. There we go, that helps. I was getting annoying before. And like a lot of times people just ask me like, like what's wrong and when I talk and just like I get asked this like at a constant, and if I'm okay and how do I fix it, and I get these questions literally day in and out, and I don't know the answers to those questions. I think the way you would fix it is by having my mom not marry the guy. That would be an idea. Hmm? Clearly, we can't do that because she's just going to do what she wants. But, you know, it's just sort of one of those things that, like, how do I explain it? Just that her behavior just doesn't sit right with me. And I don't think it ever will. So I think that maybe if she, like, did things as a mother, like, for example, like, she kept her words. Like, if you say you're gonna meet for dinner, then meet for dinner. Okay? If you say you're gonna give a car, then give a car and be prompt. Don't sit there and promise me unicorns and rainbows and then be like, oh, I don't know why she's mad that she, you know, that I didn't keep my word. Like, you know why I'm mad. You don't need an explanation. Another problem I see with the family is that they discredit my feelings, like, a lot. So I'm not even allowed to be mad at what they do either, which is another problem with the situation. You can't discredit your kids' feelings. They're not confused that they don't want to talk to you. Doesn't even bother either to try to assist on my life whatsoever, but makes demands, and I am obligated to do them because it's my mom, apparently. cute.
Something? Costumes, maybe? Costumes? By the way, we'd like to see the show, too.
Has that famous underwater ballerina made her arrival yet? I really want to meet her.
Exercise, and I haven't been home for a while, so why not?
Well, there you go. Nice. Yeah, I think the big thing with her is that, like, I just feel like a mule, like a pack mule. Like, I don't feel like a daughter. And after a while, it's become, mentally draining on me. And then while trying to run my life at the same time. And that's not what parents do. Parents are supposed to spend time with each other and their kids. Other part that hurts me is the amount of people that told me like that I don't deserve my own inheritance when this is someone that I cleaned up after, took physical beatings from, literally his only daughter, and then you're like, oh well, you don't deserve your own inheritance. Sounds to me like you just want to take from me and not, you know, give to me. You do not want to help me. And that to me sounds like an excuse to use me. And I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? Like, that's not your property to take. And frankly, I'm angry with it. And I don't even know what to do with this shit. And then you're like, oh, well, she doesn't deserve it. But meanwhile, like, you know, cheats on my dad. Sure. Totally okay. So cute. So the other problem is that like I'm always on the defense with her. It's another thing that I just can't stand my mom. And it's like I shouldn't have to be on the defense 24 fucking 7. And I'm always having to prove something to her. And even the times that I live with her, she had all that time to where we could have had a family together. And we could have had memories. All that time wasted. All that time wasted. Because she just wanted to hold on to grudges, create a problem, and honestly, I just felt like I was always never able to grow with her because of that. And, I remember my dad distinctly putting in a lot of trust into my mom, and it bit him in the ass in the end. You really can't afford to do that with your children. Okay, those children are gonna be your advocates. They're gonna protect you. Okay, you're sitting there saying "fuck you" to the kid and telling everybody you're afraid of your kid when your kids are the only ones looking out for you. And but then you're expecting my time and energy and me to do all these mental gymnastics, and it's like, buddy, I don't have any time for that. Like, I'd rather just, buy you dinner and make good memory with you. You won't even let me do that. So, like, why should I listen to anything you have to say? And people ask me all the time, why don't you talk to your mother? And what's wrong with you? And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this person? They won't come out to dinner. They're always mad. Moody. World keeps spinning. Okay, no one's got time for that. Ooh.